So first of all, we're here to honor not only the 89th birthday of the Queen Mary launching from Southampton, but we're also here to honor this gentleman, Captain Treasure Jones. And Captain Jones was the last captain of the Queen Mary that sailed in here to Long Beach in 1967. So I'm going to introduce you to some very special people. They've come all the way from England to be here today. And that is, I'm going to start off with Captain Jones's daughter, Sue Tennant. Captain Jones' granddaughter, Jilly Tennant. Captain Jones' great-granddaughter, Esme Fairbrother. And Captain Jones's other great-granddaughter, Isabel Fairbrother. And, you know, I'd be remiss if I also didn't say we have another special guest that you're all familiar with, and that's our loving friend, Commodore Everett. Thank you for being here, Commodore. Woo! Commodore's been out for a while. I think it was a couple of months ago he called me up and he said, you know, I have some special friends that are coming to the ship, and, you know, Everett has friends from all over the world. So I'm thinking, okay, you know, who is it? Like George Clooney, you know, all the famous people that he knows. And so anyways, you know, he told me about Sue and Jilly and her daughters coming to the ship, and it was like, okay, wow, this is cool. And we talked on the phone, and when we talked on the phone, I was talking to Jilly, and I just said, like, you guys are going to be like movie stars here, you know? Like, really, we love the ship, and there's so many people that love the Queen Mary that we just love having you here. And honestly, you know, it's our honor to have you in our presence here today, because each and every day when it's quiet, the microphones aren't working, the cameras aren't on, we talk about Captain Jones. We talk about, you know, him every day in the tours. You know, when Everett was here all the time, we would just talk about the stories in the Commodore's office. So really, although Captain Jones is not with us each and every day, he is with us each and every day in our spirit. So thank you, family, for being here. We love you guys, and we can't wait for Jilly, for you to come up and say a few words in a little bit. So Captain Jones, if you don't know about him, he was the last captain of the Queen Mary that actually brought the Queen Mary in from Southampton all the way around the Cape into Long Beach in 1967. That's what he's known for us in Long Beach. But he had a very distinguished naval career. And, you know, I was reading up on him, and you know, I saw, oh my gosh, he participated in the Battle of the Atlantic. He participated in the Battle of the Mediterranean. He was in the, you know, serving on the sea for over almost 50 years. Does that guy like water or what? You know? So it's just incredible, just, you know, reading on him. And one of the things I read about, it says he has been described as one of the 20th century's most distinguished mariners in war and peacetime. And that's pretty awesome, you know, because it's something that we at Queen Mary, we come here each and every day. We honor the ship. Everything we do so the Queen looks better. I would also, you know, let you know, be remiss if I didn't mention this Unicorns in Battle. This just got redone, retrofitted, renovated in February, thanks to QMI, the Queen Mary Heritage Foundation, and the Queen Mary. So those are things that we're doing to keep this. But, you know, as I look at this, the Unicorns in Battle, isn't it cool that Captain Jones actually was looking at this, probably even inspecting it, and saying, okay, does everything look good? Okay, everything looks good. And he's looking at what we're looking at right now. And, you know, he was in charge of this beautiful ship for many years. And he definitely was the last master of the Cunard liner, RMS Queen Mary. And again, once again, we are very grateful to have you here. So with that being said, we want you to speak, and then I'm going to come up and say a few things, and we're going to do something special afterwards. So, Jilly, if you can come up here and say a few words on your grandfather, that would be great.
before we start, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Steve used the word honoured a lot, and actually the people who are honoured is our family. We're extremely honoured and humbled, actually, by the lasting love and respect for this absolutely incredible ship and her last captain, for whom she was always very special. In fact, I said to my mother as we drove up on Sunday, I kind of feel like we're going to visit her mistress. Louder. Sorry, louder. I'll stand closer. I beg your pardon. Yeah, I was saying that when we drove up, when we arrived, I said to my mother that I kind of felt that we were coming to visit my grandfather's mistress, because she was always like in conversation and she was always around the family. But to me, Captain John Treasure Jones was always Grandad, because he'd retired by the time I came along. And I wanted to just share a few little insights into the man that he was, before I also then actually share some of his own words. So to me, Captain Treasure Jones was a Grandad who listened with rapt attention to me playing very tunelessly on his piano, as if it was some Mozart concerto. He was the Grandad who sat me on his lap and told me stories about his adventures at sea, like the time they came across a whale when she had loads of barnacles on her back, and she couldn't get them off, and so apparently Grandad and his crew tied a broom, a brush to her tail so she could scrub her back. Which, of course, you know, as a 5-year-old, I hung off every word and believed everything he told me. And Captain John Treasure Jones was Grandad, who always played cricket and croquet with us grandchildren in the back garden, who cursed the birds for attacking his strawberries. And more importantly for me, and this has really come home since we've seen the ship in person, Captain John Treasure Jones, who spent, as you said, Steve, sort of nigh on 40 years at sea, much of that time on stunning liners like the Queen Mary, the Queen Elizabeth, surrounded by luxury and opulence, and being served on by his tiger, and I know the term, I've done my tour. When this was the man who cared single-handedly and lovingly for the unsung hero of the story, who was my grandmother, Lady Isabel, and who raised 4 children, pretty much on her own, in Southampton, back in England, while he was sailing the seas. And while she developed Alzheimer's, he lovingly and single-handedly cared for her until he no longer could. And 10 days after he passed away, I like to think he came and he collected her too, because we're told she passed with a beautiful smile on her face. So that was the man who, for me, taught me about inspiration, family, love, and commitment. And I'm very, very fortunate, thanks to the hard work and love and dedication from my late father, who completed my grandfather's memoirs and wrote RMS Queen Mary, the Final Voyage. I'm actually fortunate enough to stop using my words, and I'm actually going to read my grandfather's words to you, particularly around the last voyage, which was so poignant. So on the 15th of November 1967, my grandfather was quoted as, "This is my last command. I will retire with the Queen Mary, but I'll have no long faces among my crew. We'll take her out of service the way she should go, a queen forever. I'm pleased to take the Queen Mary to Long Beach, where I believe she'll stand as a memorial to British shipping, to shipbuilding, engineering and seamanship." And then, some lovely little accounts of the very last voyage, when he talks about the farewell cocktail party. The ship still had a very ample supply of champagne and liquor remaining, so this flowed very freely, with everyone doing their utmost to reduce the stock remaining. Yet, despite all their valiant efforts, we still had quite a lot of stock left on arrival. There was also a good supply of Havana cigars in hand. These we issued liberally to the guests that evening, as it was illegal to land Havana cigars in the USA. Never had as many cigars been smoked in such a short space of time by so few. The final ball that was without a doubt the biggest gala held on the Queen Mary since her maiden voyage in 1936. Sorry, I've lost my space. Although it was the final one on the Atlantic back in September took some surpassing. Underneath, though, there was a feeling of sadness, especially among the crew, as this was the last board ever to be held aboard the Queen Mary at sea. There will doubtless be many such fine occasions again on board, but not at sea, where one can feel the hum of the engines and the motors with the slight vibrations that seem to bring the ship to life. Then came the dawn of the day that will never be forgotten, 9th of December 1967, when the Queen Mary arrived at Long Beach. This was the day all California, and in particular Long Beach, had been waiting. This day, they were all out on the cliffs, hilltops and beaches, and on the water to greet their Queen Mary. I am quite sure that no ship has ever had such a reception as the Queen Mary did that day at Long Beach. Never have I seen so many craft on the water at the same time and covering such an area. One had to be there to believe it. It was estimated that there were 4,000 to 5,000 craft in all, and all well disciplined and behaved. At 12:07 p.m, I personally put the telegraphs to finish with the engines. The Queen Mary's engines had turned for the last time. The shafts were then disconnected from the engines, and the ship was made immobile. Thus ended the final voyage of the Queen Mary, and my own seagoing career. It was a very sad moment when I signed her over to the city of Long Beach at noon on the 11th of December 1967. For the moment I was able to control my feelings and shed a few tears on the Queen Mary's deck, which, for a man who rarely showed such depth of feeling, that was really quite significant. But I am actually going to end with a prophecy. There was a prophecy by the prominent English astrologer, Lady Mabel Fortescue Harrison, on the day of her launch in 1934, when she said, "Most of this generation will be gone, including myself, when this event occurs. Queen Mary will know her greatest fame and popularity when she never sails another mile or never carries another passenger." And this has proven to be true. And I personally, on behalf of our family, would like to profoundly thank Steve, would like to thank Hugh, and James, and our beautiful Everett, and the rest of the amazing team that has made the Queen Mary another success again, brought her back to life with a huge amount of love and commitment and dedication. And it's our chance to honour you and to say thank you from all our family for everything that you do for this beautiful ship and for the memory of our grandfather. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. We are going to do a toast here, so let's go ahead and start passing the champagne. Oh, okay, good, all right. This is the stuff that's usually in my office right now. So as we're passing out the champagne, I just want to say a couple of things. Today, May 27, 2025, again, a very special day. But we knew we were going to do this toast, and we knew that we were going to toast Captain Jones' family here. But I want to just regress a little bit. Since I've been here, I have yearned to know so much about this ship, this beautiful ship. And where I get almost all my information from is from the Commodore, from Everett. And Everett, there's no secret that Everett pretty much knows more about this ship than anybody in the world. And, him and I would have these talks. Other than the executive committee, he's the only one I would have one-on-ones with. And I would really pick his brain and say, what about this? Or so-and-so said this, is it true? And a lot of times we would get into conversations about Captain Jones and what was it like to visit him and what was it like, and I remember when I started, the Commodore came up to me and said, "Hey Steve, I want an office." Why do you need an office? I'm thinking to myself, why do you need an office? Like, what are you talking about? And then after a while, his answer was like, this way I can greet the guest in a little room and I can, talk to them. So, but after a while, he started making more sense. And I'm like, you know what, that does make sense. So And right here in the main hall, there was this little room that was it was like a men's clothing store. So we went ahead and converted it to be called the Commodore's office. So he said, what do you want me to put in there? I go, it's your office. You put whatever you want in there. So first thing, remember that Captain Joe's picture with Everett? That's the first thing he put in there. Then he started adding pictures. And I got a little jealous. I said, when are you going to put a picture of you and me in there? You know. So I think he felt like he kind of had to, but I'm keeping it there. But I'm saying that because Everett, was so fond of Captain Jones and always had a story, and his not only his a story about the history of Captain being on the ship, but his travels to England to visit with Captain Jones. So I'm saying this for a reason. I'm saying this because he's shown so much respect and so much love for Captain Jones over the years. And again, on the heels of him telling me, Steve, I have these special people coming over, the Jones family. Please take care of them about this. And always a heart for others. I want to make a toast to the Jones family. I want to make a toast to you guys. But Everett, you're in their family. So when I toast it, I'm toasting to Captain Jones's family, and you're part of that family. You are not only a part of the family, you are the face of the Queen Mary. You are the ones we all love. We will always love everything you've done for this ship. And all of us here want to take the opportunity to toast Captain Jones's family, which is that table right there. So let's give a cheers to Captain Jones's family right there at that table, all of them. Cheers. Cheers. Okay, one more thing. As I'm talking, and look I haven't even drank anything, so I'm okay, right? I'm going to see if I can do this in honor of Everett. Whenever we would have Sunday brunch, I know I'm going to blow it, okay? Whenever we'd have Sunday brunch or whatever, he'd always say this. And I'm like, Everett, that's my favorite part. That's my favorite part of what you say. And then a couple of times he would forget. I'm like, why'd you forget? And then he'd say, and then he's like, do you want me to go up and say it again? I go up and say it because it's so important. He would always finish his speeches by, remember, the hip hip hooray. So I'm going to go ahead and lead that, and we'll do a hip hip hooray to Commodore Everett. So with that being said, hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Cheers to you.
Woo!
Love you guys. Love you guys.
Well, that's it. You guys enjoy your champagne. We do have live music going on in the observation bar right now. The exhibits will all be open until 8 p.m. tonight. If you guys didn't hear me give my spiel at the first session, we do have a whole bunch of free activities over the summer. Like Margaret is on the Mary from 4 to 7 every Friday. It's free admission onto the ship. And we've got live music out on the bow with a taco bar and margaritas, of course. So we hope you join us for that. We also have our movie night markets coming up. And then we have a huge 4th of July bash that's coming up as well. Obviously, every single salon this year is going to be a different decade with music to match and things like that. So be sure to check that out. But we hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening with us. And thank you for coming. And thank you again to Steve and the family. Thank you. Well, that's it.
We're live on Facebook. Can you say hi to everybody?
Oh, welcome to the Queen Mary.
Everyone is so glad to. Everyone is just sending love and just wanted to say hello, sending love. God bless. See you soon. Bye-bye. Good night here on the Queen Mary. That's all.
Funny how the air's still buzzing, laughter rolling down the halls. Feels like every corner's waiting, like you knew I'd make this call. People coming, music coming, and I take a breath and grin. Every memory leans against me, drawing me right back in. I see you standing proud and steady through the changes and the years. Makes me lean in close and tell you I'm so glad that I'm still